Global debt is now at all-time highs, topping out at $243 trillion. While the stock market today, Dow Jones and S&P closed at all-time highs. We are quite literally living in the twilight zone. Global debt, $243 trillion. This is a new record of around 230% of the world's output. This is telling every one of you that literally every country across the globe is hanging on by a thread. And while these countries are all hanging on by a thread, the S&P and Dow Jones close at record highs today. Jerome Powell came out today and basically promised to keep propping up the markets. He said the Fed will remain accommodative with regards to rate cuts. So we can expect to see more rate cuts, more quantitative easing. The markets loved the message. They surged even higher. Then we got some bad news. China came out and that they said they are not willing to submit to the phase one deal. And the markets began to fall. But then the markets began to rally. They came back. And why is that? What was the good news? What turned these markets around today and brought it back up? Quite possibly plunge protection team, Federal Reserve, the Fed coming back in and buying into these markets, propping them up as we continue to watch the rigging and manipulation. Anytime these markets sneeze, the Fed is there cutting rates, injecting more cash, buying stocks, buying treasury bills, injecting more money into the banking system. Whatever they need to do, they're going to use every tool in their arsenal to continue to prop up these markets. And today is another example of that. So I believe these markets will continue to surge. There's nothing in their way to stop them. They've got the green light. Jerome Powell and the Fed is completely behind these markets. Their sole concern, their sole responsibility now is to keep these markets going, to keep kicking the can down the road. I do believe at some point these markets are going to hit a brick wall and the party's going to come to an end. The music will stop. Unfortunately, so many people have been drinking the Kool-Aid and have just been so dumbed down by the propaganda. They believe that this 12-year bull run is never going to end. They believe the markets are too powerful, the Fed's too powerful, and they're going to stay in these markets just a little too long, and most people, because of greed, are going to get wiped out. I do believe these markets are going to continue to surge, no doubt about it. There's nothing stopping them yet. But that's not to say that some event does not happen, does not appear, like Deutsche Bank or some other black swan, and change things instantly. And for people that stay in too long, they're going to be wiped out. And again, this bubble is getting so enormous. How much longer can it go before it blows up? I don't think it has that much longer. Does it have another year? Maybe. Could it go 2 years? Maybe. Or it could be 2 weeks. Nobody knows. But I think a lot of people are taking enormous risk right now if they're in these markets. If you're in these markets, be very, very cautious. We talk about events or black swans. What could implode these markets? One thing could be the 2020 election. There is a small group of people, you can call them globalists, elitists, globalist elite, deep state, demonic state, call them whatever you want. But there is a small group of people, very, very powerful, that do not like this president. I do believe that there's a very, very good chance that they purposely blow this economy up, implode it, and blame this president. And I believe the strategy here is to get people, his followers, people that vote for him, to turn against him. And will they be successful doing that? We're going to find out. But I truly believe that the left do want to see a massive recession in America. They don't care about you or I. They don't care about pain and suffering. They don't care about the farmers. They don't care about the economy. What they care about is power. And they'll do anything they can do, including destroy the United States of America, destroy this president, destroy your life in order to get him out and get a globalist in there. And at that point, now they have full control of America. And however they have to do that, if that's implementing a recession, a Great Depression, they're going to do that. And the question is, do Americans buy it? Are they going to blame this president for the imploding of the economy, for the crash of the stock market? We're going to find that out. I truly do believe the crash is coming. I believe it will be before the election. So they could use the nuclear option, and there's a couple ways they could do it. How would they crash the markets? Well, they could have the banks start tightening up credit. What if the Federal Reserve started raising interest rates? Now, we remember last December, wasn't that long ago, when the Fed raised 25 basis points, the market crashed 20% in a week with just a quarter point rate increase. So if banks started tightening up credit, that would be really, really bad all by itself. If the Fed raised rates, that's all it would take right there. What if credit started tightening up and the Fed started raising rates just a little bit? That combination would send us spiraling out of control. And so many people are not prepared for this market collapse. Many people have already forgotten 2008. They are so drunk on the Kool-Aid. They are so drunk on the propaganda. We're watching these valuations. They're so super inflated. Companies are bleeding money every year, yet supposedly they're worth billions. We have a massive bond bubble right now. We have a massive housing bubble. We have a massive stock market bubble. We have massive global debt of $243 trillion. All they have to do is something very, very little, and you will see massive chaos unfold economically here in America. And they believe that that's what it's going to take in order to get this president out of the way and bring in some globalists who in return will probably crash the economy anyways. So I think whether it's to remove this president or not, expect a massive implosion because they want to crash things. They want to send things into chaos because that's how they get control. They want to confuse everybody. They want to bankrupt everybody. They want to come in and save everybody. And when they do that, you're going to see the biggest wealth transfer the world has ever seen. And we are going to have a lot of debt slaves here in America because these elite are going to use their power to just take everything. They're going to buy everything. And many people are going to lose everything. So the rich, that top 1%, are going to get richer. And the average Joe is going to lose his house, his cars, his jobs, his way of life, his standard of living. So as the media keeps telling us how great things are, Fiat Chrysler is trying to stuff dealer channels with over 40,000 cars. This is on Zero Hedge today. Fiat Chrysler is at odds with many of its U.S. dealers after trying to get them to accept inventory of about 40,000 vehicles that they did not order. They are doing this to keep the plants running, okay? They want to keep making cars, but they don't have enough people buying their cars, but they don't want to stop making cars because then they're going to shut plants down. They're going to have to lay off people. And so it's better to make cars and just go park them on lots somewhere. You know, when I read stuff like this, what Chrysler's trying to do right now, and look, I drive by auto lots literally on a daily basis. These things are packed. And they have, some of the lots by my house have fields where they've enclosed them with chain link, and they put hundreds of cars in there. And I call it the bullpen. And so the lots are so full that they're overflowing that they have to put the excess out in these dirt lots. And so you have Chrysler now not wanting to shut plants down, not wanting to lay off people, but to continue to build cars when there's no buyers. So this is our economy today. SHTFplan.com, officials are using the word disaster to describe the widespread crop failures happening all over America. Again, food shortages coming to America. I believe it was Harvard University, just did another study on the amount of people in this country that shouldn't be here. MIT said 22 million. Now, I believe it was Harvard. It was an Ivy League school. I believe it was Harvard. They're saying that number now is around 30 million. So as America is heading into a food shortage, what happens when things really get bad in America and you have 30 million people in this country that shouldn't be here? Again, do we have enough resources? We don't have enough jobs. You know, we see what's happening in manufacturing. We see what's happening in these labor markets. AI and technology is taking over. Yet we have 30 million people, unskilled, uneducated, in this country who are going to continue to need to eat, who are going to need medical care. How is America going to continue to pay for all this when we are heading into food shortages, AI technology taking over jobs, heading into a recession / Great Depression where people, you know, are going to get desperate, and yet we have 30 million people just walking around the streets of America that shouldn't be here? Unbelievable. Student loan debt, another huge problem. We are now at $1.64 trillion of student loan debt. Consumer debt now at $4.15 trillion in September and climbing. With all this debt, people are really going to get themselves into trouble. Nothing bad has happened yet economically in America, except that the economy sucks, but it's being propped up. What happens when they no longer can sweep this under the rug? What happens when we have a full-blown recession or full-blown depression in America? This debt, $4.15 trillion of consumer debt. And that does not include mortgages. Student loan debt at $1.64 trillion. If there's one thing I can say, get out of debt or get your debt down to a minimal. Get your debt to a point where it's controllable. You do not want to be heading into a recession, God forbid, a depression with debt. Student loan balances are now equal to 7.6% of U.S. GDP. You know, I talked to an old friend of mine today, I hadn't talked to in a very long time, and he had sold his house about a year ago in Orange County, California. His house was around 12 or 1,300 square feet, sold it for $700,000, okay? I mean, just think about that. A 1,200 square foot house in Orange County, not a new house, nothing glamorous, 1,200 square feet, $700,000 with multiple offers. It was an all-cash deal, sold as is, quick escrow. And people were lined up to get it. Just mind-blowing. So there's an article today, Idaho residents fume over state wrecking Californians and other inflationary transplants. Now, my buddy didn't go to Idaho, he went to Arizona. But other states are seeing the same problem. Arizona, Nevada, Texas, Oregon, and Washington are complaining about the same problem. And what they're mad about is people can sell a 1,200 square foot house for $700,000. My friend cleared $500,000 on that. And then they can go to Idaho or Nevada or Arizona and they can pay cash for a house. And what it's doing is it's propping up these values. And people don't like it. So everything is, real estate and everything is getting more expensive in these states now. And then on top of it, a lot of these Californians bring over, you know, their political views and start wrecking everything in these once conservative states. So they don't like what's happening to their property values going through the roof because they can't afford to buy in their own states now because people from California are flooding over with all this cash. But what's interesting is, so my buddy clears $500,000, and I said, "What'd you do with the cash?" And he told me he threw it all in to the market. But I was like, "Wow!" And he was like, "Well, you know, a good friend of mine is handling for me. I trust him, nothing to worry about." He had no idea what his money was invested in, just that it was a good friend looking out for him, handling it for him. And I was just like, "Wow, that's really dangerous." And it's not, you know, my place to tell. I'm not a financial advisor. It's not my place to tell people, you know, what they should do with their money. I you know, explain to you what I do with mine. I give you my thoughts and my belief. And anybody that asks me, I will give you my honest thoughts and beliefs. But this individual was very, very committed to allowing a friend of his who's a broker to invest his money in the market. And I said, really, be careful. I believe the market's in a huge bubble. But this is the mentality of people today, that they have no idea what their money's invested in. They just trust some person that they know, and they believe that these people are smarter than them, that nothing bad can happen. And your friend may have your best interest at heart, but your friend doesn't control the market. I just thought, wow, just throwing a whole $500,000 into the market this year, just knowing this giant bubble, I just think it's so dangerous. Anyways, but that's the mentality of people today, that, I didn't want to pay the capital gains on it, and I didn't have any other options, so I threw it in the market. It's just it's just really, really risky, and I don't want to see people lose everything they have. It really concerns me when I see friends like this, throw in $500,000 into the market, and then this individual now is living off their pension. It's very risky, knowing how unfunded the pensions are, knowing that we're in a pension crisis right now that's only going to get worse. A stock market bubble unlike any we've seen, and you see your friends in this, and many of you have friends and family in this, and you shake your heads, but there's nothing you do. You can't tell people what to do. You can advise people what to do, but most people will never listen. But if I had $500,000 in my hands right now today, I certainly would not be throwing it in these markets. I would be very patient and very conservative, because I know that in the very near future, you're going to be buying into these markets for pennies on the dollar. And people like my friend are going to get annihilated. They're going to get wiped out. And that's life. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there today. Be very careful if you're in these markets. Be very cautious if you're thinking about purchasing real estate right now. We are seeing massive, massive bubbles. How long these bubbles are going to go is the magic question. Nobody has a crystal ball. But a 12-year run, another housing bubble like we saw back in '08 taking place right now, except bigger, I'd be very, very careful. Remember, there are going to be massive sales when this whole house of cards comes tumbling down. If you have very minimal debt or no debt at all, and you have cash on the sidelines, and you have hard tangible assets like gold and silver, you are going to shine. You are going to create a great future for yourself. Unfortunately, many people are going to pay a severe price because they're going to lose their futures. But we all have free will. We all have a mind. So you can choose to listen to the media, you can choose to drink the Kool-Aid, or you can open up your mind and use your own eyes and your own ears and evaluate what's really, really happening. So I'm going to wrap it up right here. Have a great week. Thanks for watching. Talk to every one of you very soon. Make sure that you continue to pray for this country. Make sure you continue to prepare. You never know what tomorrow is going to bring. God bless.